All right, we have a large amount of reading to do today. Some of it we may skip over or skim through and not really talk in depth about, but we do have a lot of reading to do today. So we are starting on page 14 with French claims. Dun, 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 dun. So we talked a lot about the English and what they've been doing, but now we're going to skip on over to the French. So, New France existed on a map long before anyone from France set foot in the Americas. In 1524, Giovanni de Veranzio, an Italian sailor working for France, explored the coast of North America. He sailed from what is now the Carolinas north to Nova Scotia. 5 years later, his brother drew a map of the area. On it, he used the name New France. In 1534, Jacques Cartier made the name a reality. Cartier sailed from St. Louis River as far as it is now to Montreal. He claimed the land in the name of King Francis I of France. Cartier also attempted to found a colony at what is now Quebec City, but the colony did not last long. So Montreal and Quebec, those are all in what is now Canada. Cartier did succeed in establishing a fur trading partnership with the Huron Indians. Fur trading was to become a main economic activity of New France. 100 years after Cartier claimed the land for France, French missionaries arrived to try to convert American Indians to Christianity. They often lived among the Indians, learning their languages and accepting their way of life. Many fur traders also lived among the Indians as well as building more permanent settlements. So, France had a claim that was called New France. A guy went and explored it, and not even until 5 years later did he, a map was actually drawn of it. And you can see at the top, the dart in the map, in here. Oh, it's going to actually, that's not where we wanted to go. All right, well, if you have your magazine out, you can see the dark purple is Cartier's route. So anyways, 100 years after New France was named, just then is when people actually started living there, and they were specifically missionaries living there trying to convert American Indians to Christianity.
That's a true or false.
That is a true or false, it is number 8. French missionaries wanted to convert American Indians to Christianity. That is what, everyone? True. And that was found on page 14. All right, I'm not 100% sure. I feel like there was a great amount of important information. So I just want you to highlight the word French claims, okay? And if we have a question about French claims, you can also highlight Jacques Cartier's name. You might have a question about him. You can also highlight French missionaries arrived to convert Native American Indians to Christianity. But there is a lot of important information in these two paragraphs. So I'm going to continue on reading as you highlight those few things. We are at the top of 14, and it's next to the map. To increase their profits from fur trade, French merchants wanted permanent settlements in New France. Permanent means they're not going to move around. They're going to be stay there. A group of them hired Samuel de Champlain to find a good location. In 1608, he founded Quebec on the St. Louis River. Growth was slow as few settlers came from France. Montreal was founded in 1642 by missionaries because of its location, with easy access to the Great Lakes and south to the Gulf of Mexico. It soon became a fur trading center as well. So I want you to highlight 1608. He founded Actually, I want Samuel. I want you to start at this guy's name, all the way down to St. Louis River. That way, we know who did find it, founded it. Who did find it? Who founded it? And then I would also like you to highlight Montreal was founded in 1642 by missionaries. And then lastly, that should be fine. Okay, I lied. I want you to highlight it soon became a fur trading center as well. Mrs. Gnivel cannot speak today. What's up?
I forgot my bag.
Okay, well then you're just gonna have to follow along today, buddy. Okay. It's on the screen. All right, scrolling down, and I need you to flip over to the next page, and we are at the top on the left-hand side of page 15. This is King Louis.
No. King Louis, like the 14th.
Yes, because X is 10, and that's 1 before 5, which is 14. So King Louis the 14th wanted to protect France's claims in North America. In 1663, he made New France a royal colony, putting control in his hands. And remember, we talked about royal colonies yesterday how, like, you know, a royal person, like a king or queen, was like, yes, this is mine. I am in control. Calvin and Eliana, I need you to head to Mrs. Zako's. I think if she sends you back, that's fine. Okay? In 1672, he sent Louis Count de Frontenac as Governor General. Frontenac wanted to find the Northwest Passage, a waterway that was rumored to connect the Atlantic to the Pacific Oceans. Is there a such thing as the Northwest Passage? Is that a real thing? No, we talked about this lots and lots of so many people looked for this Northwest Passage connecting one side of the United States to the other. And guess what? That does not exist. There is nothing that connects the entire United States waterways-wise. In 1673, he sent Father Jacques Marquette and explorer Louis Joliet, however you say that, to search for a great river he had heard of. He hoped it was the Northwest Passage. The two men located the Mississippi River. They traveled on it from the Wisconsin River to the mouth of the Arkansas River. Because the Mississippi flowed south, they knew they had not found the Northwest Passage. So, guess what? No Northwest Passage. Because that's not a real thing. I would like you to highlight the first two sentences. And I hope you all remember Northwest Passage, not a real thing. And then we have this nice one about King Louis the 14th. But now we're talking in 1699. In 1699, King Louis XIV decided to approach the Mississippi River from the south. He sent Pierre Le Moyen and his brother Jean-Baptiste. The brothers sailed along the northern coast of the Gulf of Mexico. Eventually, they reached the mouth of the Mississippi River. Over the next 3 years, they established 3 forts. The success of these projects convinced Louis XIV to begin sending colonists to Louisiana, which has been named in his honor. All right, I would like you to highlight the two brothers' names, Pierre Le Moyen and Jean-Baptiste. And then I would like you to just highlight their names. And then over the next 3 years, they established 3 forts. And luckily, they were successful. Feel free to highlight the word success as well. That way we can remember that they were successful. They didn't just establish forts and then they didn't work. They established them and they worked. They were successful, which made Louisiana, people started going to Louisiana to live.
Yeah, and that's where unspeakable
What?
I think that might be true.
Dun, dun. Number 9 says French explorers hoped to find the Northwest Passage, an overland trail connecting North and South America. Okay, I'm going to let you know that is false. The Northwest Passage was a waterway. Well, they were hoping it was a waterway connecting east to west. Not a thing. So it was not an overland trail. It was a waterway they hoped would connect the east to west. That was false. Not true. And that was on page 15. As you fill that in, please listen as I continue reading still about King Louis XIV. But now we're all the way in 1712. So originally, we are reading about him in 1663, and then in 1699, and then in 1712. So he, even back in the day, he was living a big, long life because people didn't live as long back in the day because they didn't have like medicines and things like that to cure illnesses. So go him, living a long life. In 1712, Louis XIV made Louisiana a proprietary colony, meaning he gave ownership of it to one person. That's important. I want you to highlight that sentence. He let someone own it. In 1717, after Louis's death, control of the colony was given to Scottish banker John Law. Law had ideas about how to make the colony wealthy. One idea was to join all the fur trading companies into one. He also formed a company to build plantations in towns and bring many new settlers to the colony. Eventually, Law's money-making schemes failed, and he fled. He had to flee to France in 1712. So, King Louis died. And then this guy, John Law, I would like you to highlight just the word John Law. Or how about Scottish banker John Law? If you have a question about John Law, you're going to need to know where to find it, and it's going to be in there. He had all these grand ideas. He's going to do all these things, and our colony is going to be wealthy. We're all going to be rich. Well, none of them really worked. And since none of them worked, people were probably angry, so he had to flee. What is another word for that? If he had to flee, what does that mean? He had to roll out. He went back to France. He had to hide from people. And then I have this nice tiny little section. In 1718, Jean-Baptiste Le Moyne founded the city of New Orleans. It was the capital of Louisiana. It was made capital of Louisiana in 1722. I just want you to highlight those two little sentences. That's a fun fact. So the capital of Louisiana is it still New Orleans?
No, it's Baton Rouge.
It is Baton Rouge. So it changed. So back in the day, it was New Orleans. I'm glad you guys remember that.
Alex.
Okay. Ben table and Minky table. Let's remember, we still have this. We have to finish this page and the next 2 pages. So we need to be on top of things. We are at the bottom of page 15 with, like other parts of New France, Louisiana had trouble attracting settlers from France. There were not enough workers to farm the land, so the French started bringing enslaved Africans to Louisiana. Between 1719 and 1731, 6,000 were brought to the colony. So once again, the French, just like the English, didn't have enough workers. They needed more help. And since no one was coming from France, they brought people over from Africa and enslaved them and made them work. Obviously, not the right thing to do. I would like you to highlight New France, Louisiana had trouble attracting settlers. And then I would like you to highlight not enough workers to farm land. And then I would like you to highlight bringing enslaved Africans to Louisiana. And that should be good. So 6,000, that's a large number. And we have one more little section here, and it says, in 1763, there were 80,000 colonists in all of New France. At the same time, there were 1,500,000 British settlers in a much smaller area. So New France, if you look at this map, is all this purple, and there's 80,000. But all the British claims, which is like, what, a quarter of the size in red, they have, like 10 times the amount. They have over a million and a half people, where New France only has 80. So they're really having a lot of struggle trying to get people to come New France's. And you can see Louisiana is just that whole big old chunk. You can see where the British colonies are up in the top right. I would like you to highlight 1763. Then I would like you to highlight 80,000 colonists in New France. Or then I would like you to highlight 1,500,000 British settlers in a much smaller area. Do we have any questions on this on this chunk of information?
Yep.
Going once, going twice? John?
There's another little part.
The think piece?
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have to read that. I mean, you're free to read it on your own. Okay. Well, that's fine. We've kind of already talked about that as we've been going through. All right. We have 6 more sections to read, my friends, so we are going to continue on. So now we're going to talk about the Dutch. So we originally talked about the British claims, and then we talked about French claims, and now we're going to talk about the Dutch. Dun, da, da, da. Wow, Mrs. Kneifel, you are just my favorite person. I know, thank you. Rush, what are we doing? Put it away. All right. In the early 1600s. So I don't know if you've noticed, but as we're reading about different groups of people, all the dates are similar. So all these things are happening simultaneously. Like New France is being founded while the British is doing stuff, okay? Like it's not like this happened, then this happened, then this happened. All these things are happening around the same years, okay? In the early 1600s, fur hats were all the rage in Europe. What does that mean? It's all the rage. It's super what, John? Yeah, it's super cool. Like, oh, snap, in Europe, you better have yourself a fur hat. And Dutch merchants were determined to make money from the fad. A fad is just another word for something popular. Like right now, them ripped jeans, real popular. And people that make ripped jeans are making a whole lot of money off of them. The biggest source of fur was the vast forest of North America. The best way to get the fur was to trade with American Indians. I want you to highlight the best way to get fur was to trade with American Indians. The first explorer for the Netherlands was an Englishman, Henry Hudson, which don't forget, we've already heard about Henry Hudson a little bit. Remember, he eventually was left by his peeps. Remember, they deserted him. In 1609, looking for the Northwest Passage to the Pacific, he sailed up what was then called the North River. Once again, is the Northwest Passage a real thing? No, they just thought it was. It was later renamed the Hudson River for him. Hudson claimed the lands around the river for the Netherlands. By 1614, land that now included parts of New York and New Jersey were called New Netherlands. Apparently, that's just the thing, like New British, New France, New Netherlands. Whatever country they're representing, they throw the word new in front of it, and that's what they call it. Clearly not that invented, but that's fine. In 1621, the government of the Netherlands gave the Dutch West India Company control over all the fur trading in the area. I want you to highlight 1614, and then I want you to highlight New Netherland. We are now at the section right underneath the one we just read. In 1626, Newton established minute. I don't know what that word is. Established a trading post called New Amsterdam. It was the southern tip of Manhattan where the Hudson River flows into the Atlantic. This made it an ideal location for trade. Ships could easily dock there and load up for the trip back to Europe. So people are killing the animals here, getting the fur, then they're going to the Hudson Bay. And, hey friends, I shouldn't hear any talking. Maybe I lied. Oh, I lied. I just read one, not the one on the screen. So sorry, anyone following along on the screen. I read the one right here. The bottom 1626. The one on our screen is this one. So we'll go back to that one in a second. I would like you to highlight 1626 trading post called New Amsterdam. That might be important for you later. Then I want you to flip your page over and we're going to read about the one that's actually on the screen. That's my bad. In 1626, the Dutch West India Company named Peter Minuit Director General of the colony of New Netherlands. Its headquarters were on the island of Manhattan. That same year, Minuit offered the local American Indians traded goods, possibly glass beads, later to be said worth about $24. Minuit thought he was buying the land from them. The Indians, who didn't believe that anyone could own the land, thought Minuit was paying for the right to hunt, fish, and gather goods. They had no intention of giving up the right to live there. So, once again, Native Americans and the Dutch, in this situation, spoke different languages. So there's what's called a language barrier when people speak different languages and don't understand what, others are saying. So, this guy, the head of the company, Peter, became head of the fur trading company. He gave glass beads to the Native Americans. And by doing this, he thought he was paying for the land. Well, the Native Americans thought he was just paying to hunt and fish and gather food. So they weren't planning on leaving. So it was a very big, not mistake. That's not what I wanted to say. Misunderstanding. The Native Americans definitely did not want to give up their land. I'm not going to highlight anything in that section. This is the one we just read. Now I need you in 1638. Which is back on page 16. I don't know why we can't just go in a nice straight order. Why do we gotta flip back and forth? I don't know why they do that. In 1638, Sweden was one of the great powers of Europe. It was much larger in size than it is now. Wanting to establish a fur and agriculture trade, the country set up a colony of New Sweden. Wow, who saw that coming? New British? New France? New Netherlands, and now New Sweden. Who saw that coming? Hopefully all of you.
Yes. I have a feeling.
It was located in parts of what are now Delaware, Pennsylvania, and New Jersey. Peter Minuit, who had left the Dutch West India Company, was the leader of New Sweden. So the guy who originally was in charge of this fur trading company and traded beads and stuff with the Native Americans is now in charge of New Sweden. The Dutch were concerned that the Swedes would start trading with the Algonquian Indians. They feared this would interfere with the trading relationships the Dutch had already established with the Algonquians. So the Dutch were like, oh snap, the Swedish people are here now, and now they are going to mess up what we already have with the Indians. I want you to highlight 1638. Then I would like you to highlight New Sweden. And then I also would like you to highlight the last two sentences about the Dutch being concerned that the Swedish people were going to mess up their relationships they already had with the Native Americans. And then feel free to look at the map. You can see what is the dotted lines are what is the present day states. And New Netherlands is that giant red piece. And then New Sweden, much smaller, where it is part of New Jersey and Delaware and Pennsylvania, is in the orange. All right, now we are heading up to the late 1630s. In the late 1630s, the Dutch settlers moved north on Manhattan Island and cleared more farmland. Conflicts with the local Algonquian Indians increased. Well, of course it increased because more of the Native Americans' land is being taken. If they're clearing more land for farming, that means more of the land is being taken away from the Native Americans. Colonists and Indians attacked each other's farms and villages. Eventually, the colonists sent out an army that destroyed Indian villages all over New Netherland. A peace treaty was signed in 1645, but by that time, the local Algonquian population was almost destroyed. So because of this war and what they're taking away from the Indians, lots of them are passing away. So by the time the peace treaty is made, it's almost kind of like it is too late. I would like you to highlight conflict with the local Algonquian Indians increased. And then I would like you to highlight a peace treaty was signed in 1445. And you can just finish out the rest of that sentence about how by then it was almost like it was too late because the population of that group of Native Americans was essentially destroyed. Hello. What's up?
Can I just chill for a minute?
Yeah.
Nobody needs me.
Of course. What's our last? Oh, wait. Sorry. I just passed our last section. Got this fancy little top hat here. Yeah. Hey, we're not done yet, friends. This is our last section, and it says, as the English and Dutch moved into the Northeast, they competed with the French for fur trade. So all these people, the English, the Dutch, the French, all of them want the fur trade. They all know that this is going to make them money. So they're all competing against each other. In 1670, Alex and John are going to sit up. In 1670, English merchants set up the Hudson Bay Company. Its goal was to colonize the land around Hudson Bay in what is now Canada and engage in trading. Alexander, shh. This cut into the profits of the French and the Huron allies or partners. I would like you to highlight the word allies or partners, in case you didn't know. Allies also can mean partners. In 1664, English ships appeared off New Amsterdam. The governor immediately surrendered. In a 1667 treaty, the Dutch formally gave New Amsterdam to English, who named it New York. So New Amsterdam wasn't about to put up a fight with the English. They were just like, here's the land. Call it a day. They were not about to put up a fight for it. I would like you to highlight in 1667. In a 1667 treaty, the Dutch formally gave New Amsterdam to the English. All right. We do have a small learn more section. The magazine. And there is another true-false that we need to answer still. The true-false question is, English, Dutch, and French settlers fought one another to gain control over territory. Is that true or false? True, yeah. All of them wanted the same things. So you may put a true and put page 17. Then I need everyone's eyeballs at the screen. What, Alex?
What was number 19?
What?
I mean, number 9.
Number 9? Number 9 was false because it was not an overland trail they were looking for. They were looking for a waterway from east to west, not north to south, east to west. And regardless, it's not a real thing. And then I need your eyeballs at my screen. That's not where I want to go. Oh, I should share this tab instead. All right. Dun, 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 dun. You have the second Google form for the second half of this magazine. I'm going to let you know. You have till Thursday, so you do not need to rush and get it done. You have till Thursday. There's only one short answer question instead of two, so that's a plus.
Thank you.
And you have until Thursday, so I don't want anyone to rush. I'm going to let you know some of your guys' scores on the first one were not amazing. Every single answer. Everyone say that with me. Every
single.
Wait, no. Repeat after me. Every single answer is in my magazine. There is no excuse for us getting poor grades on this. So you may begin working on this. It is not due till Thursday. I'm not expecting you to get it done. Actually, you know what I think we're going to do? What I think we're going to do is everyone pause. I think I'm going to stop this recording. We're going to go over a little bit of grammar for like 10 minutes, and then you can start this. So instead, I'm going to pause this recording, and then I'm going to start a new one. And instead,